Mac Power Users, episode 500. David in the hot seat. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Mac Power Users. My name is Stephen Hackett and I am joined, as always, by my friend and your friend, the world's friend, Mr. David Sparks.
Hey, Stephen. Happy 500.
Hey, you too. This is really exciting.
It is. I mean, I'm really happy. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
500 episodes of Mac Power Users.
It's really amazing to be a part of this. I want to talk through some things about this episode, and then we have some fun announcements. The bulk of this episode is an interview that I did of you back in the summer at MacStock. So there's 150 people in the audience who have already heard it. We swore them all to secrecy, though, before we started, that they couldn't share anything. So those people will be free of their vow once this episode comes out.
Yeah, the NDA is lifted.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I can't tell if that's a funnier or a scarier joke coming from an attorney. So we're really excited to share that. I really enjoyed going back through it and editing it this past week, and I think people are going to get a real kick out of it.
Yeah, me too. It was a lot of fun. And the live audience was awesome. They were so kind.
Mm-hmm. It's so much fun doing live shows. We should do some more of those.
Yeah. We're working on it.
Yeah, buddy. But to celebrate 500, we wanted to do as many special things as possible. So if you go to the show notes, which I get to say this URL now, relay.fm/MPU/500. It's awesome.
Yeah.
The first link there is to some limited edition MPU 500 merch. And it all looks really awesome.
Yeah, it does. We haven't done merch on MPU for several years now. And I thought we should really do 500 right. And we did. And Steven's been hard at work on this. And we've got some great stuff. I guess let's start from the smallest to the biggest.
Okay.
In my head.
The smallest is a sticker pack. So we have some new special artwork for 500. It very much feels and looks like Mac Power Users, but our designer at Relay FM totally knocked it out of the park. So there's a sticker pack with just some icons on it and the number 500. So I like this. It's kind of discreet. You could put this on a laptop and, people would be like, oh, man, that's a really cool sticker. And then you can tell them the good news of Mac Power Users. I think that's the smallest, physically the smallest.
And I think with all the stickers you're putting on your laptop, this should be one of them.
I've left a little room for this sticker. So
all right.
It's going to go on there.
We've also got these really cool patches. So you want to sew a patch on your jacket or your jeans? You can do that with MPU now. MPU 500 patch. It's awesome.
It's really cool. It's got the battery logo on it. It's got the MPU colors. It looks really awesome. We did patches for Liftoff a couple of years ago, and I just absolutely love how they came out. And these are really cool.
This is the one that I insisted on. I wanted to have patches, and I'm going to be putting them on some of my clothes. I think patches are great. I'm a big patch fan.
Up next, I think we have what is the heaviest item. We have a Mac Power Users 500 challenge coin.
All right. Could you tell us what a challenge coin is? Because I didn't know until we got on this journey.
Sure. So I will say in the show notes, there is a link to my podcast called Ungeniused, where Mike Hurley and I talk about weird things we find on Wikipedia. Yes, that's a podcast. We did an episode a while back about challenge coins. But challenge coins, they sort of came out of like the military, and now lots of people do them. And it's just a commemorative piece. I have the Relay FM one right here. Listen to how solid this is. It's a real thing. In the military, they are given out to people in a unit to build, team feelings and, that sort of thing. But then if you come across somebody in a different unit, or maybe someone serves with you for a special mission or something, then they get their own challenge coin as like a literal token of their service in whatever they were doing. And it's expanded out past that. Now you have people who trade them. That's really big, especially in sort of military groups. But it's kind of a way to have like a little membership pact with somebody else. And the way it's supposed to work is if you're in an environment and you see somebody who you think may have one, it's called presenting the challenge coin. And so I had this happen to me. I'm going to tell a story to my own embarrassment. I had this happen to me in an airport about a year ago. Someone recognized me and said, hey, I love the shows. Do you have your Relay FM Challenge coin? And to my shame, I did not have one on me. So now there is one in my backpack at all times because I will not be caught out again.
Yes.
And they're great. I mean, these is the same type of coin we did with the Relay. So if you have that one, it'll be similar. Heavy, feels really good in the hand. You can slip it in your pocket when you come to a live Mac Power Users episode and be part of the club. And patches were your thing. This is my thing. I think this is really cool. And I'm really excited to have one on my desk next to my Relay FM coin.
Now you're getting me excited about carrying my challenge coin. I know at some point somebody's going to walk up to me at Disneyland.
You can't leave home. You can't leave home without it.
That happens. The one place I get recognized most is Disneyland.
Well, it's because you're there the most often. It
just happened to me recently. Somebody's like, "Hey, Sparky."
If you see someone who looks like they're writing podcast notes, it's probably David Sparks.
Yeah, probably in Batu.
Yeah,
probably in Batu.
That's right.
All right, but there's more for episode 500.
There is. The last piece of merch is a really cool T-shirt. It's got the same artwork as the sticker. So, again, sort of subtle, cool nerd people will know what it is. And I think it's going to look absolutely great. I think the coolest you could look is in an MPU 500 T-shirt with some sort of vest or jacket with the patch sewn onto it and this challenge coin in your front left pocket. I think you'd be the coolest person around.
Yes. Maybe you attach the challenge coin to the other side of your pocket watch chain. That would be very fancy.
That's a power move right there.
There you go. Well, either way, the merch looks great. We really appreciate the support. If you want to buy some of it, it is on sale for a limited time to celebrate episode 500. Both Steve and I are very excited about it. I think I'm most excited for this because I can buy this stuff and wear it. So I guess that's the main reason I wanted to do it. But
Yeah.
Either way, it's great. So we got patches, stickers, challenge coins, and shirts. So go load yourself up, and you can find links for that at relay.fm/MPU/500.
That's so cool to say. It doesn't get old.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
This is also September, and I know, we just talked for 5 minutes about cool merchandise, and a bunch of people are in the process of buying new iPhones and Apple Watches and everything. But September is also Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And so my urging is to, hey, go spend some money on some nerd stuff, but go spend some money to help save the lives of kids with cancer and catastrophic diseases. I got an email from a listener. We've been talking about this for several weeks, and I asked if I could share it, and they said they could. They're a listener of Mac Power Users and a couple of other shows on the network. And when they were a child, they had leukemia, and they were cured of that, and now they're an adult and healthy and have a family of their own. And they were just sharing some of their journey with me. And as the father of a kid with a brain tumor, it means the world to me to hear these stories of people who were kids with cancer who are now adults thriving with careers and families. And so many times those stories revolve around or go through St. Jude, because St. Jude is a hospital that is treating kids with cancer not only in Memphis, but really around the world, because all of their research for the drugs they use, the therapies they come up with and improve, they share that research freely with hospitals around the world, including with organizations in all sorts of different countries, but also the World Health Organization. It's really neat to see this research get spread around the world. So not only St. Jude kids, but kids all around the planet can receive the best healthcare possible because of the work done here. And the amazing part of that, if that were not amazing enough, is that St. Jude doesn't charge families like mine a single dime for the care their kids receive. And it's the best care on the planet for these diseases. And St. Jude pays for that if you need to travel. So if you don't live, I was fortunate enough to live in Memphis, but if you're across the country or across the world, St. Jude is going to pay for your travel. They're going to pay for your housing. They're going to pay for your meals. So you as a family can focus on getting through this together and not worry about financial ruin because of a diagnosis. And that's why what we do in September is so important. This campaign funds all that research, but also funds meals and plane tickets and chemotherapy and breakfast burritos and everything in between that families need to get through this. So if you head over to stjude.org/MPU, we would love for you to be involved. Our goal this month was 75,000. As I record this right now, we're almost at that goal. I think by the time this is out, we'll probably be past it, which is amazing. And so we're going to push on through the goal and keep raising money for this awesome cause.
Yeah, we want to just blow away those St. Jude people. This is the first time they've ever worked with a podcast network. And we want all the executives over there to go, hey, man, what the heck was that? We got to do that more often, right?
Yeah. Show them the power of podcasting. That's what I say.
Also, I just want to call out that on the 20th of September, iPhone launch day, Stephen and Mike are going to be together. Mike's coming back to the U.S., and they're going to do a 6-hour Jerry Lewis type podcast together from St. Jude. What are you doing, Stephen?
It's a podcast-a-thon. So it's like the radiothons or TV-thons that in the past, we're just adapting it to our deal. It is going to be on video. So in the show notes, I also have a link to the Relay FM Twitch page. If you're not familiar, Twitch is a live streaming site, so you can watch us in real time, talk for 6 hours, and we have a bunch of zany stuff planned and some interviews, and Jason Snell is hosting some sort of game with some people that I can't see until then. It's going to be a surprise. So lots of fun stuff.
I think I'm part of it too. I'm not sure yet. We're working on that. So yeah, it's going to be fun. And I just want to say, because it's iPhone Day, guys, we're going to talk about the new iPhones next week. But I was listening this morning to that other podcast you're on with those international gents, and I heard you all making fun of the green iPhone.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Are you a green iPhone person?
Called it the Jolly Green Giant phone or something.
I did say that. That was me, yes.
I'm saying the phone is the phone that Yoda would carry, and it is a phone that I will carry.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Wow. I'm sorry.
You need to stop that. Maybe I'll show it to you on the 20th.
Okay.
During the live show.
That'd be fun.
I'll unbox my Yoda phone.
Yeah, I should have one too. My plan is to pick one up that day.
Oh, you're getting a Yoda phone too?
No,
that's good.
I'm not doing the green. But so yeah, September 20th. It's from 4 to 10 p.m. Eastern. It'll be live on Twitch, but the video should be up on YouTube. And I'm going to try to put the audio in the B-Sides feed at Relay. I've never published 6 hours of audio, so we'll see if that works. It's the plan. I make no promises, but that's the plan, is to post it in audio format as well. But yeah, if you're around from 4 to 10 p.m. Eastern on the 20th, come by. There'll be a chat room. There'll be people hanging out. We'd love to see as many people as we can, but more importantly, stjude.org/MPU to donate today. This episode of Mac Power Users is brought to you by Eero. Eero is a game changer because it means actually being able to access the internet from anywhere in your house. There's always that one room or maybe that spot in the backyard with an unreliable Wi-Fi connection. And there's nothing more irritating than watching your favorite show and having it stop and buffer. Eero solves this because it blankets your home in fast, reliable Wi-Fi, so you can constantly have strong signal wherever you need it. And it sets up in just minutes. You just plug it in to your modem or router, and you can even manage it from a super simple mobile app. This app lets you do cool stuff like pause the Wi-Fi while you're all eating dinner, or get alerts when any device tries to join your network. Eero has fixed all the Wi-Fi problems. No more dead spots, no more buffering. I've had Eero installed in my house for a couple of years now, and it's just great to be able to go out into the yard if I'm streaming a podcast or listening to something on Apple Music and know that it's not going to stutter and cut out because the Wi-Fi reaches every corner of the property. You can get your Wi-Fi fixed as soon as tomorrow. Go to eero.com/MPU and enter the code MPU at checkout to get free overnight shipping with your order. That's eero.com/MPU, and the checkout code MPU will get you free overnight shipping. Once again, that's eero.com/MPU, code MPU. Our thanks to Eero for their support of this show and Relay FM.
I just want to say Steven's computer says in big words, hit record in Hideo Hajag.
It's really important to do that.
That's important. Did you hit record?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going. See, it's counting up.
It's really great recording live. It's a little odd for me. Instead of having Yoda on my desk, I have Steven next to me. So I'm not sure. Can you talk like Yoda maybe during the show?
We'll see.
See, we will.
How's your weekend been?
I am having a great time at MacStock. This is an awesome place. So many Mac Power Users fans here and just nice people. But the best thing I've seen, Stephen, the whole time I've been here is while we were in line for lunch. Have you ever been on an airplane or heard the story on the airplane when someone runs down the aisle and says, "Is there a doctor on the plane?" You know, and the doctor stands up. Sure. I'm a doctor. I will help out.
Did that ever happen to you as an attorney? Is there a lawyer on the plane?
Yeah, and then they throw you out the window.
Yeah. We got to lose some weight. Let's go.
You're the first out. But no, we're in line to get lunch, and somebody runs down and says, "Is there anyone here that can suction cup the monitor off an iMac?" And it was in the same tone of an emergency on an airplane.
I thought the iMac was going to have a baby.
And I love that Stephen, he didn't question it. He just said, "I can do that," and he just followed her. Just walked away. I mean, literally, he didn't explain anything. He's gone. So while we're eating lunch, Father John's iMac got taken down, stripped down to its component pieces.
That's right. It had a 4K Retina iMac, and now it has a lot more RAM and a SSD, and it still works. That last part's really the important point. I really want to make clear I didn't kill his iMac.
I just love that. He took the logic board. I mean, you took the thing apart.
It was in pieces. We'll put some pictures in the show notes.
Yeah, that was awesome. But MacStock is amazing, and anybody that hasn't gone should. Great speakers, but best of all, great friends.
Absolutely. The Apple community is a special place, and this weekend is a good reminder of that.
I always miss the gathering of the tribe that we had in the old days at Macworld. This is the closest thing you're going to get to it. Yeah.
This episode is going to be a little bit different, as you may imagine. I know a lot of people, including myself, wish Katie could join us. We keep up with Katie. I had a nice conversation with her about this. She sends her love to MacStock, but was unable to join us. But she's doing great, and she is a huge reason, obviously, why we're here. I'm continuing to walk in her footsteps. So I wanted to do a special shout out to our friend Katie. This show is also unusual in that David doesn't know what we're going to be talking about.
Can I just say something about that? This is episode 500. I have been intimately involved with the planning of every episode of Mac Power Users. And the fact that you haven't shared the outline with me has been making me crazy.
If you had been less crazy about it, I may have shared it.
I wrote my notes on a piece of paper because you're not going to share your outline with me, so I'm not sharing mine with you.
Okay.
This is mine.
There's no doubt that this is a great time to be in the Apple ecosystem. And I want to help celebrate that with this very special episode of Mac Power Users, because for so many of us, myself included before I joined the show, MPU has been a part of this world for over a decade. That's a long time. And I thought that today we could celebrate that, talk a little bit about the show, talk about David. So spoiler alert, it's going to be a little bit meta.
That makes me nervous, just so you know.
Well, this ends in matching MPU 500 tattoos, so get ready. So I want to roll back the clock. Okay, so if you're here in the room, you can shut your eyes. If you're listening to this in September and you're driving, please keep your eyes open. But I want to go back to May 5th, 2009. Do you know what that happened that day?
I think that's our first published date.
It's the first published date of MPU. Yeah. I had to go way back in the archives to find that. I want to paint a picture of what May 5th, 2009 was like. If you had a new iPhone in your pocket, it was the iPhone 3G.
Yeah.
3GS was not out yet. The App Store was less than a year old. I can't even, it's crazy. The iPad, not even a serious rumor yet. The iPod Shuffle, the current iPod Shuffle, had no buttons for some reason. It was a terrible iPod Shuffle.
Oh, that was the worst one. Yeah.
It's terrible.
The stick of gum iPod.
The MacBook Air still had its weird flip-down door to get to its ports.
Yeah.
It's a weird time in laptops. The iMac still had a super drive, and the unibody MacBook Pro was pretty new, but Retina was still years away.
Yeah.
And the thing out of all of that gets me, the current version of macOS 10 was macOS 10.5 Leopard. Yeah. That feels like an eternity ago.
Well, I mean,
it was.
It was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah. Well, this crazy thing is we spent like probably 6 months planning before we released that episode. So it was even older, really.
All that hot Tiger content never made it out the door.
Yeah, no.
Spotlight, it's new.
Spotlight, yeah. Although it really didn't work until Leopard anyway.
It's fine. Very few things worked until Snow Leopard, which came out later in 2009.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
I thought that was a fun little
It's crazy.
So with that in mind, I want to talk a little bit about the beginning of the show.
Sure.
And how we got here, because at 500 episodes, I mean, in our community of Apple Podcast, that's a pretty small club with that big a number of episodes.
Although I will say there's a few people here that I think are right up in those
It's
numbers.
true. They're
too.
all here. I mean,
Yeah.
Where's Dave? He's got us beat.
Yeah.
Initially, you and Katie said we're going to do 10 episodes.
No, that's actually not what the
It's
story.
not true?
Katie said we're going to do 10 episodes because
She's not here to defend herself.
Yeah, I wanted to make a show that I wanted to hear, and it wasn't on the air. So, but she said we're going to run out of content in 10 episodes, and
Sure.
I felt like, well, then there'll be 10 really good episodes.
Thankfully, Snow Leopard came out.
Yeah, exactly.
Grand Central Dispatch.
Yeah.
It's a deep. No one laughed at the Grand Central Dispatch
I'm
joke?
with you, brother. I remember. I even remember the traffic light keynote slides for Grand Central.
This is why we are good partners. Can we just talk about Snow Leopard the rest of the time? Okay, so anyways, so you had a vision that you wanted the show to exist. You felt like there was plenty of content there.
I wasn't sure, but I knew this is what I wanted to hear, so I'll make it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I find that so interesting. I think the most compelling things that people make, and not just in technology, but in the wider world, are things that people want for themselves.
Sure.
Right? Like the best apps on the App Store because someone had their own itch to scratch. A guy making his own car, that's a bad example. It only goes so far, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't like heart implants and stuff like that. You should go to a professional.
I want my own nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No,
Okay.
no.
In thinking about that time period, so from 09 to 19, obviously there are a lot of changes, and we could spend the whole time talking about those. But what comes to mind as far as the biggest sea change from that MPU 1 to 500? If you could narrow it down to one thing that really has changed the shape of what we're doing, what would it be?
It's the expansion out of the Mac, of Apple becoming a Mac company to Apple becoming a computer company. When we first started, it was called Mac Power Users because that was the only thing that you had power use on. I mean, the iPhone was brand new, and if you recall, it barely had apps. It certainly wasn't something that was automation friendly. And since then, Apple has added multiple platforms. I mean, the TV has become a thing. The iPad now exists. The phone is better. I mean, we continue to get better with the iOS stuff. And the show has really evolved with that. I've always felt like, this is the Apple Power User show. It's not just Mac Power Users. And so we do have content for all of that. But when we first started, I had no idea any of that was going to happen.
Thank goodness you weren't the iPod Nano power users.
Oh, yeah, that would have been bad. That would have
Short-lived.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no buttons. How do we...
The
I'm really fascinated
Newton
with
power
buttons.
users.
Huh?
Newton power users.
Oh,
Oh, maybe there's a show there. I don't know.
I don't know if Relay FM would take that show, but we can talk about that offline.
Hypercard power users.
Yeah.
I don't know. I knew this room would like that one.
It's good. It's good. Can we talk about carbon the rest of the time?
Yeah,
Just
let's
kidding.
do it.
I think I know your answer to this one, but in a show that has such a big reach, a show that's been around so long, clearly things have happened because of that. You've gotten opportunities to do things and go places because of this show. What is your favorite example of that?
I don't wake up every day and put a tie on because of you guys. I mean, that's the biggest change in my life. I didn't start this out with the idea that I would make any money off of it. When we got our first sponsor, they called us. It was Smile. They called, "Hey, we want to sponsor the show." I said, "Great. How much should we charge you?"
Yeah.
I didn't even know. But it's really, I often think, and I know this sounds schmaltzy, but I think about my life before I started kind of publicly nerding out. And I was a relatively, I wasn't particularly happy with my life in a lot of ways. I was happy. I was a lawyer. I did raise my kids, but there wasn't that thing in my life. And doing this has brought, and I have so many friends in this room, but also out there at the other end of this microphone that I never would have had. But it's also changed the way I make my living. It's made me better at everything that I do. I mean, really, it's really something else. Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm
You
okay.
need a minute? Single tear.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm not used to doing this in front of an audience. So that's the schmaltzy answer.
It's good.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting.
Yeah, it's hard for me to avoid that. I'm an old man.
Yeah. Second place, like the Mac Pro thing.
What?
Is the second place the Mac Pro thing?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. That was pretty cool,
That was
too.
pretty cool.
Yeah. I never thought Apple would invite us to a keynote and make us and have us come in and interview one of their senior VPs.
Yeah. We got to talk about the wheels on the Mac Pro. It's like a highlight of my career. The wheels, I know people haven't seen it yet. The wheels are beautiful. They're really nice.
They better be.
Yeah. Very shiny in the middle. A question we get a lot, and a question that I think is sort of an interesting one, is how we define power user. And I have my answer, which I'll share, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah, this was a definite. This is why it took us so long to make the first show, because once we decided we wanted to do a content, we wanted to make a signal over noise show, and MacPowerUsers.com was available. That had something to do with it. But also, I wanted it to, I always thought of it as an aspirational title. I mean, there's some things I feel like I'm a Mac Power user, some things I feel like I'm not. And that's why we have guests on to help us out. And I feel like the listeners should feel the same way. And I think one of the smartest things I did at the very beginning of the planning was I took a piece of graph paper and just drew a line, like from the lower left corner to the upper right corner. And I felt like that is the map for every episode of Mac Power Users. Every episode needs to start basic enough that anybody listening can get something out of it. But that line needs to crawl high enough by the end of the show that people who are more advanced feel like they get something too. And if the people who really got it at the beginning fall off halfway through, that's okay. It's aspirational, and that has been the guiding, force of show planning up until episode 500 when I got cut out of the loop.
You're back in next week.
Okay, good.
That's fine.
Good.
The way I think about it, I agree with all of that. But the way I think about it, like, who is a power user? Who is the show for? And the way I've always considered it is anyone who just wants their technology to do something for them. That's all it is, right? It can be Keyboard Maestro and we're on the command line doing things, or it can be, hey, I'm using photos and I want to quickly see all the pictures of my family vacation last week. Everything on that spectrum is using this technology to make our lives better and more meaningful and getting out of the way so we can actually go do life, right? I feel this temptation, and maybe some of y'all do too. Like, sometimes I think about technology as the end unto itself, and that's not right. I mean, technology should empower us to make things, to be creative, to get our work done more efficiently, but it should also get out of the way and do work for us. And I think anyone in that zone is a power user. And to your point earlier, it's not just about the Mac anymore. The iPhone has become a computer. The iPad is a computer. The Apple Watch you're wearing is a computer. Yeah. And harnessing all of that stuff to make things happen in any way makes somebody a power user, I think.
Yeah. It's like I've met several listeners here at MacStock who've been listening since show one. And my question to them is always, do you still get at least one thing out of every show? And the answer is, I don't think anybody said no. Everybody still gets one thing. And I always think about that in the back of my mind as well as we plan the shows out and plan guests and plan topics is, can I give, even people who've been listening a long time, can I give them something out of this time they're going to give us? Mm-hmm. Can I give them something that they can make their life easier? And that's, it's not a really hard mission.
It's a very rewarding one.
Yeah. I mean, it's a simple thought, but the delivery is where it all counts.
That's right.
Yeah. As you know, we do a lot of prep on this show.
We do. People may be surprised or may not be surprised that we're often working on 2, 3, or 4 shows at once. And, we're sort of cycling through these different documents and doing our research and doing our prep. And it's more prep than I do for any of my other shows, but it pays off because MPU is something that an episode of MPU should follow that line, which doesn't come naturally.
Yeah.
We have to, we often, one of us will be working on an outline, the other person comes in, rearranges sections of it to make it follow that line.
Yeah.
And it's not the way that I think naturally. I'm learning to think that way.
Yeah.
But it also, we try to make things that will last. That if we are talking about the Finder, which we did, back in the spring, I think, that should be relevant for a long time.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is preparation.
Yeah. In fact, when we went on Relay, when MPU joined Relay, we broke the network. That's the word you used to me? Didn't you say we broke it?
Talk about my failures as a system administrator.
No, but the thing is, for most podcasts, after a week, they're no good anymore because a lot of them are news based. And MPU was the first show you had that had a lot of people downloading significant back catalog.
And now the Relay CMS has much better caching. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that planning because we've got 500 shows and they average about an hour and a half, sometimes a little longer, rarely a little shorter. But
this will be the shortest one in a long time, probably.
Yeah, and then there's usually at least a couple hours of prep, sometimes much more, occasionally a little less. But I was doing the math on that, and you figure out that's 2,250 hours for those 500 episodes, assuming 2 hours of prep.
Yeah.
That's a lot of...
You counting my editing time in that?
Yeah, no, really. And Steven's doing a great job. Isn't he doing a great job with the edits of the show now? Like, I love he drops little things and he doesn't tell me about it. Like, we'll just mention the chime on the original Mac, and I listen to the show and I get a little moment of delight because this guy drops the chime in. I love that. You guys, I think that's great.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This episode of Mac Power Users is brought to you by 1Password, the tool that I use and trust to make sure that all of my online accounts, from social media to banking and everything in between, are safe and secure with strong, unique passwords, as well as two-factor authentication where possible. 1Password doesn't get in your way when you're trying to log in because it's available in all of your devices: Mac, iOS, Android, Windows, the web. It's all available to you wherever you are. And if you're on an Apple device with something like Touch ID or Face ID, 1Password integrates with all that stuff. So it's really fast to get logged in. It is back to school season. I know a lot of people are sending kids to school with their own computers, maybe even for the first time. And 1Password for families can be a great tool to implement. And there's no time like the present. You can set up different collections of passwords for different family members, so you can share the Hulu password with everybody, but not necessarily the credit card password, if you don't want the kids to have that. And it's more than just passwords. Banking information, driver's license numbers, software licenses, all of that and more can be stored within 1Password. So head on over to onepassword.com/MPU to learn more and to sign up for a free 30-day trial. And when you do sign up, you'll get 20% off. Again, that's onepassword.com/MPU. I want to shift a little bit to some listener questions. So as the audience knows, I've been soliciting listener questions for several episodes leading up to this.
Part that I'm nervous about, frankly.
They're vetted. It's not like I'm not reading them for the first time today.
All right, good.
We have a couple about the duality of your professional life.
Yeah.
So we know you as Mac Sparky, the lovable host of Mac Power Users and the Mac Sparky Field Guides.
Yeah.
Saxophone player, but you also have this other side of your career. You're talking about wearing the tie.
Yeah.
That was your world in the legal world for a long time, and of course you still practice law. And Josh had this question. I'm so glad someone asked it because I really wanted to address it. Is how did tech inform your legal career? Did it give you a leg up over people you were working with because you were into this world as well?
That continues to give me a huge leg up because most of the people in my profession are completely backwards, and it's great. I especially when I was doing trial work, I would show up, and this is in the old days before the Mac was cool, and I'd show up with my Mac, and the other lawyer would snort at me. It's like, hey, you can see you brought your toy with you,
Sure.
And they'd have an assistant, and they'd have a IT guy, and it would just be little old me, and I played it up to the max, to the jury. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have that. It's like it'd be one guy, and there'd be a lot of the cases I do would involve larger firms on the other side. So they'd be partner, associate, the tech guy. So they'd be all those people there, and I'd be there, and then they'd get up in their presentation, they'd have the wrong cable and everything, And what I would do is I'd show up the week before, and I'd bring donuts to the court staff. And I would say, hey, I just want to make sure my machine works. And they're like, yeah, great. And you make friends with them. And I'd plug my Mac in. So I'd work, and I'd just get up and I would gut them with Keynote. It would, and they never saw it coming, and I loved it. And it was because of Apple. I mean, there's so many things. We've done shows on Keynote, and the reason why it's better is unfair in some ways because people just aren't used to seeing those templates. But yeah, it's just been great for me. And the same thing with automation on the end of like transactional documents I write and discovery. I'm able to do the work of many with all the nerd skills I have.
It's interesting that's really kind of goes to what we were talking about a second ago, where like technology should empower us to do more and do it more efficiently.
Yeah.
You're like sort of a shining example of that, I think.
Yeah, and I live it. I mean, people when I left the firm, people are like, oh, so you want to become Max Sparky full time? I'm like, no, I like helping people as a lawyer. I like helping people as Max Sparky, but also it having my hands in it every day really helps me find better stuff for the show too, because I'm not just sitting here writing about technology. I'm actually no, I mean, I don't mean it that way, but it's just like having to deal with it under fire also gives me all sorts of ideas of ways to make things better.
Absolutely. So we have a question from Jan. Related. Are you peeking?
No, I'm not. I don't have glasses on. I can't see that.
There's a laptop over here.
Yeah.
David is known, this is from the forums. David is known to be a man of many talents, and I find it very inspiring, which we can all agree.
Aw, shucks. Thanks, Jan.
How does he balance moving forward in both his legal and nerd careers? And I guess that maybe that can be a past version where you or how you want to take that.
To answer the question, very poorly sometimes, and particularly when I first made the move out of the firm. If you listen to this is a plug for my other show, Focus, but we talk about that, and it's been a challenge for me. In fact, at MacStock, I'm giving a presentation that's going to address some of that. But it's hard, and it just took a lot of soul searching and saying no to a lot of things. But the short answer is I just do stuff I love, and I've gotten really good at limiting that to just the stuff I love. So it gives me time to do that stuff properly. Is that good enough?
It's great.
All right.
I think Jan is pleased.
All right. Thank you, Jan. I'm glad you're happy.
Blake asks, if David could go back and tell himself anything before the first show, what would it be?
Just have fun. I mean, first year I was freaked out with every episode, and I think I overthought it. And, the more you settle into this stuff, the better it is, really.
Yeah, you know what works, you know what doesn't, what you need to focus on.
Yeah. But you only get that with experience. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think when you were talking about when you first went indie, if you will, I was thinking about my experience with that. And my experience was very similar to yours, where I was doing too much and didn't know what I should focus on. And I basically flamed out super early and had to kind of really step back and regroup. And I think that's true of any project, not just if you're independent, but anything we do as nerds. We can get too far into it, we get too deep, and we kind of got to get pulled out sometimes to see the bigger picture.
I was this is something I don't think we've ever shared on air, but you and I and some friends went out to tea in San Francisco, and you just looked. You had your head, you had your palm on your forehead, and I could just tell you're in a lot. And me and a few other folks said,
Jason Snell.
Yeah, you got to quit. You got to quit that job and just go all in with Relay.
I did.
And then through the lunch, I could tell he was going to do it. And then I walked away from there thinking, what have I done? I'm friends with his wife.
Yeah. He has 3 small children.
What have I done? I'm glad it worked out. Let's just say that.
Oh, me too. So is my wife. Yeah, you guys really ganged up on me in hindsight. Really unfair. Dennis asked, if you could have anyone on the show who hasn't been on before, who would it be?
That's a good question. I'm going to give a couple answers to that.
Okay.
I'll tell you one. When Katie was on her last few episodes, I was trying desperately to get Waz on because I felt like he was the perfect guest.
That'd be awesome
for Katie. I wanted to be my last gift to her. Never worked out. I got a hold of people, it just never worked out. For us, I don't know. I would like to get some of the automation friendly people at Apple, maybe, but they just can't really talk. But maybe, I don't know. We've made inroads. It's interesting to me. I think the best guests for Mac Power users aren't necessarily celebrities. I think they're people who get hard work done with their Macs. So it's not what you think it would be, in terms of the. How about you? What would be your ideal guest?
I mean,
what's your get?
For like a celebrity standpoint,
Yeah.
I would really love to have Adam Savage on. He was the host of
Yes.
Mythbusters. He does a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff with Tested.com.
Yeah, that would be. In fact, I reached out to him at one point because I thought
Yeah,
he'd be.
because I know he uses Evernote heavily for like these
Yeah.
research projects, and we
Yeah.
could talk him out of that.
Yeah.
Hey yo,
Yeah.
we're gonna do the notes roundup episode real soon. David
I
keeps
think we
threatening me.
should. I think it's time again.
Sometimes it shows that we have this big Google sheet of all of our past and future topics, and sometimes like notes roundup ends up there, and I just copy it and like move it down the calendar.
The never-ending quest to email and notes.
I agree with you though. I find the most compelling interviews we get to do are with people who are just using technology like in their lives to get stuff done. And this is where this episode being out of time is a little weird, but for the people listening in September or later, we've had a lot of those recently. For you people in the room, it's in the future, of people doing like really interesting things and kind of some like unusual, like in education and in like public service, like some of these different areas that are really interesting. You know, sheep farming.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to get done. You got to have Max to sheep farm. We learned. And that's what's really interesting to me. I was talking to somebody last night here, and my previous life as a consultant and like as both in tech and advertising later, my favorite thing was to get to know a company or a person working in an industry that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I never thought about this being a problem for some people, let alone like you have a whole company that is the solution to that problem that I never considered. I love that stuff.
Yeah, me too.
And we get to do that on NPU of talking to people who are using their Macs to run a church or run a school or run a museum or a sheep farm, whatever it is. When you get outside of sort of the normal circles that we all travel in, we get to discover ways that people use technology that we would never consider. And that's always really exciting.
And the fascinating thing about that for me as a host and hopefully the listeners too is even though you're doing something completely foreign, a profession that nobody was aware of, usually those people have a good idea that works in other contexts.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's the real magic, you know, when you can do that.
It's like you could read my next question.
I cannot.
This is from Duncan. I love this question. It's 2 parts. I'll give you the first one. What's the best power user tip you've learned from a guest in 500 episodes? And then the second part, what's the one you've been given the most often?
Wow.
I figured if any were going to stump you, this would be it.
This is a good one. It's a lot of episodes.
Just got them filed away.
Yeah. I feel like some of the episodes we did with Merlin Man were pure gold. You know, he just had so many good tips. I thought those were good tips. But, I honestly can't pick one.
Like your children,
Yeah.
you can't pick a favorite.
Yeah.
500 children.
We've had so many, and so many different, we've had people talk about giving presentations, people talking about writing. We've had people talk about sheep farming. I mean, there's just so many different things. The one recently that's still a game changer for me is the picture-in-picture out of Safari that you gave me.
Yeah. It came from a listener.
Yeah, that was a great one. So, I mean, there's always something. What was the second half of his question?
What's the power tip you've been given the most often?
Huh.
Like I guess maybe to say another way,
Yeah.
a common one that maybe unites different types of shows.
All of the one that people talk to me the most about is a post I did like, I don't know, 8 years ago about printing to PDF.
It's
And
good.
It's a Command P and then you hit it twice and it's just not even a script. It's just a keyboard
Wait,
shortcut.
you hit it again?
You hit it twice and it saves it to PDF automatically.
I've been using the little stupid drop-down button.
Oh yeah.
We all learned something on NPU.
You gotta watch a video, man. You gotta watch. That's one I hear about a lot. But we try to keep moving, so there isn't like a repeated one that often. So I didn't really do a very good job answering that question. Sorry.
Well, I learned something.
Yeah. I'll send you a link.
I have it mapped to a keyboard shortcut. So mine is Command Option Control P. Go straight to PDF.
Now in Apple Mail, you have to do it with a separate key.
Yeah.
Because they added a
course.
command, they changed the command. This is a couple operating systems ago. But everywhere else, you hold down Command P. If you make a keyboard shortcut, use the exact same shortcut as to invoke the print command. So you hit Command, hold down Command key, and just hit P twice. How many people in this room know about this already? Yeah, see, all the NPO listeners.
Everyone but me.
Yeah. So, and every once in a
embarrassing.
while, Apple changes it. So I have to do a new screencast every time they
There's
do an
like
update.
one guy at Apple who's like they're in charge of that bit of the code base.
Yeah.
Like, take it, Sparks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This time we'll take the ellipsis out, but next time we'll put it back.
Man, email. Just is always here. It's always present.
Email is the first episode. Email was not only the very first episode of Mac Power Users, it was we recorded it twice. We've talked about this on the show. The very first episode, we finished recording it, and I said, hey, you want to do that over? And there was no pause. She's like, yes.
No, that's advice that I give to people on the relay side. We obviously work with a lot of shows, and a lot of people creating shows, and people just email for advice and things. And that's what I always tell people is when you're starting a podcast, record demos, record things that, maybe if they're good enough, they'd see the light of day. But in the back of your mind, knowing that you can use them to experiment with things like format and timing and segments and all those things. Just like, if you're a band and you're not going to like walk in off the street into a record label and record an album, you're going to be working on demos, in your house, in your home studio, on the bus or whatever, and working out the bugs, working out the kinks in your craft. And then when you're ready to release something, it's ready to go. And, MPU episode 0, I guess if we could call it that, is a really good example of it.
Yeah. Funny story. Rose and I, when we made Automators, we made several episodes that we intended to release, but we made them as kind of test episodes.
Right.
And then we went to WWDC last year, and Apple announced Siri shortcuts, and all the content we had made, the whole catalog,
just evaporated.
Was just garbage because of that announcement. So I think we have those episodes somewhere, but they're, yeah.
She says we do.
She does.
She's got them in Dropbox somewhere. Knowing Rose, they're on Dropbox, but also iCloud Drive, but also on Backblaze and an external hard drive.
Yeah.
She said yes.
All right.
We talk about backup strategy? No, I was kidding. I mean, I would. Yeah. I love backup strategy.
I think it's been a while. We haven't done backup in the Steven generation, so I don't know.
You just put it all on DVD and store it underground. No, I was kidding. That's terrible advice. Don't do that. If you could change something about Apple, what would be on your list?
I got a list.
I know.
That one is a list.
You cannot mention file management on the iPad.
Okay, so take that one off.
That's the top item gone.
No, they're getting better at it. I do think that I would like to see more love for power users, as they become a consumer company. I feel like they lost the thread on that during the Mac Power Users run, but I feel like they're catching back onto it with the things they're doing. So I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see more openness on a lot of things. I feel like that they hold themselves back sometimes because they're so secretive. It's so ingrained in the culture. I feel like my parents were both raised in the Depression and were very much affected by the Depression. My mom, they didn't have a house during it. And so their whole lives, that was a guiding force for them. That's why it took me 22 years to leave my law firm, because I was raised like, you get a job, you do a good job, you stick with the job. It's like it was. And I feel like Apple is like the equivalent of that, because the company was so close to failure that they don't ever want to be that way again, and it makes them risk averse in some ways that I think holds them back. So I'd like to see them open up and take a little more risks, and also just remember that they're a computer company. Sometimes I think they forget.
Yeah, I think it's hard for some of us to grapple with the Mac not being the only child anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It was for 30-something years. 20-something years, and the iPod came along. But then the iPhone and iPad clearly shifted. Apple took computer out of their name.
Yeah.
Around sometime in early iPhone, iPad days. And I think some people have really struggled with that. And I think that that's fine. Somebody like me, the Mac is my preferred platform.
Yeah.
Like I have an iPad, but I don't really work on it all that much. It's a very much a secondary device. The Mac is where I want to be. But even then, I can recognize that the ground has shifted. And I think what's different today is maybe 5 years ago. To say we had done episode 250 and this question had been asked. I think then the conversation would have been, well, they're going to phase out the Mac, iOS. This is going to be the future. And what I think we're saying from Apple now is that the Mac is now just a sibling with these other devices.
Yeah.
And something like this fall, to kind of peg this episode into time a little bit, this fall with like iPad apps coming to the Mac, like
they wouldn't be investing in that if the Mac was going to go away.
Yeah.
They are bringing all these things, yes, closer together. But I think to your point, too, they're doing it in a way that still will work for power users. People who do want and need, and it's not always about need, as we say on the show. Sometimes it's about want. Sometimes you just want a computer with wheels on it. Who can judge you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just think that, like, if you look at, for a while, I mean, they were making so much money off the iPhone, and it was growing like a rocket ship.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Thompson talked about this on Stratechery, and it was about the time that the unit sales flattened with the iPhone that suddenly the iPad and the Mac are getting focus again, and it's like they finally caught up with what was happening. And now it's more of an ecosystem company, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, and I think it's a great time to be in that ecosystem. One of my answers to this question is, it's a very nuts and bolts kind of question. It was like, iCloud stuff, like the 5 gigabytes is a joke, but that iCloud should be better, even better than it is. And it's come a really long way. That's something else I think that, 3 or 4 years ago, we would have said, oh my gosh, like, don't touch iCloud unless you have to do it. And I really don't feel that way anymore. I know you don't feel that way anymore because they've made really good progress. But in a way, this is going to be a really hot take because it just came to mind.
Okay.
Future Steven could edit this out. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
iCloud, in a way, is Apple's most important strategic product because it is the thing that holds the ecosystem together. Yes, you can still get a lightning cable, and if you have the right dongle, plug it into your MacBook. But they're clearly pushing all of us into this world where iCloud is the glue holding everything together. And I think, in a way, that's kind of the most important story of the last couple of years of Apple is not that, yes, the iPad getting better is good. The Mac Pro coming back is excellent if you need that sort of hardware. But this stuff working together and being better together is kind of the biggest story in my mind. And it's one that I think they need to continue to focus on because there are still rough edges and there are still things that need to be better. But I think, in a way, Apple doesn't know how to tell that story. I think Apple is still kind of in the time period where we have the Mac and we're going to focus on the Mac. And now it's September, so we're going to talk about the iPhone. And now it's March, so we're going to talk about the iPad. And they sort of go around this carousel throughout the year. And as they pull the golden ring off and it's Mac time, and they pull the next ring off and it's iPad time. And I'm not sure Apple itself has really given us like the big picture of how they see a user moving fluidly from one to the other. And I think maybe that's where some of us as power users feel a little bit frustrated because we're not sure if we still fit into that picture. I think we do, but I think Apple needs to do a better job at explaining that from their point of view.
Yeah. And I don't envy them because they had to grow that cloud service not as a small startup with 100 users. They had to start it with millions of users.
Right.
It's not easy. So
not at all. And, we can, even in saying like, oh, they should double it to 10 gigabytes. We're like, I can't imagine how much storage space that actually is. Like, it's probably more than like plugging in another like Western Digital hard drive in the data center.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
SSDs, they got the money.
Yeah, exactly.
This episode of Mac Power Users is brought to you by the Omni Group. And today I want to talk about OmniFocus for the web. Of course, OmniFocus has been part of the Mac and iOS ecosystem for years and years now. In fact, I think OmniFocus for the iPad is my favorite way to use it. But a lot of us are away from our Apple devices throughout the day. Maybe we have a PC at work or a shared computer at home that our OmniFocus information is not on. Well, that's where OmniFocus for the web comes in. You can get it with an OmniFocus subscription for $9.99 a month or $100 a year. But if you already own OmniFocus, this is what I love about the Omni Group. They're super flexible with this stuff. If you already own OmniFocus, you just want the web add-on subscription, it's $4.99 a month. And you get OmniFocus for the web wherever you are. You just log in at web.omnifocus.com. In fact, there's a 2-week trial there to check out now. And all of the essential and powerful features from OmniFocus are there. Of course, you have your inbox and projects, but you also have some of the things that make OmniFocus 3 so great, like tags and the flag perspective and the forecast view, which I absolutely love, being able to plan out my week. You get view options and notes, and of course, it all syncs with your OmniFocus data on your other devices. So if you want to try this out, if you want to have OmniFocus on that work PC, head over to web.omnifocus.com. And of course, you can always learn more about the Omni Group on their website, omnigroup.com/powerusers. Our thanks to Omni Group for their support of the show and for making great software we rely on every day. We're going to move into some fun questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Fun for me, maybe not for you. A lot of fun for these people.
All right, bring it.
Peter asks, and he said this is the California thing.
All right, I'm California. I can do that.
I feel like people just say that when they're going to say something weird.
Well,
or
if the shoe fits.
Or say something about their feelings.
Yeah.
Do you prefer corn or flour tortillas?
Oh, jeez.
Is that a California thing?
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was like a gluten thing.
No, I mean, flour is for rookies. If you're gonna do it right, you got to go to the corn tortilla.
Wow.
Not even a question.
I did not expect crowd participation on this question.
Yeah. Or if you have kids, you give them flour tortillas. But
yeah, they don't know any better.
If you have to do flour tortillas, like if that's your only choice, the trick is to turn on the burner on your gas oven and just throw the flour tortilla over the top of the burner and flip it over a few times.
Like directly?
Yes.
Like tortilla to burner contact.
Well, there's always a thing the pot sits on,
oh, yeah.
You just lay it on there,
okay.
And once they start like bubbling up, then they're bearable. Corn tortillas.
I think Peter wins for the best question.
All right. Thanks, Peter. I'm glad I could explain that to everyone.
I think that probably just wraps up the episode. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not sure we have any more content for MPU now.
That's the peak?
Yeah.
We ended on a tortilla question? Yeah. I really feel like that's my fault in a way.
Yeah.
I made this joke earlier, but Allie does want to know if we would ever get matching tattoos.
No.
Well,
I don't know. I feel like,
matching is that's a thing. I love you, but...
And I love all the ink you got. It's great. He has a dog cow on his ankle. I just saw it today.
It's been there like 10 years.
Yeah, and it's like, I was thinking, man, I really did pick the right guy. But where
do you see where the Finder logo is?
I feel like, I don't know. Oh boy. But I feel like, I'm not that old, but I feel like someone of my generation getting a tattoo is a call for help. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Diane has a question about the analog world.
All right.
That you dip into.
Occasionally.
After going back to analog with pen and ink, which we've talked about on the show,
a little bit.
Mike Hurley sets you into a tailspin of buying pens.
Yeah, a little bit.
Are you going to come to the San Francisco Pen Show in a couple weeks?
I am. I'm going to be in town. Why not? I'm going with Mike Hurley. How can you not? If he's going to...
It's going to be an expensive trip for you.
No, not really. I can't afford it. But yeah, I'm going to go with him. It'll be fun to walk out Mike.
By the time this is out, we'll know if you've lost your house or not due to pen purchases.
No, that's not going to happen. I'm good.
So you're doing the pen and ink thing. What are your thoughts on film cameras, vinyl records, and analog watches?
No, and if it suits you.
Wow.
No, I don't. My daughter got a couple years ago. I've been doing these shows so long. Sometimes I'm afraid I've told this story because this one is definitely an MPU sharing story. She wanted a record player for Christmas. And I was like, what do you want a record player for? It's like everything. I remember when I was like 13 years old and my Kinda Blue Miles Davis album got melted. It was because I had a light next to it and I looked up and it had a dip in it. And I was just like,
oh, no.
It's like I mowed a lot of lawns to buy that, and like when CDs came out, I was so happy because it sounded better. So my daughter wanted a record player, and I really didn't even want to get her one. My wife and I were like, all right, so we get her one at Christmas. She sets it up, plays her first song on a record, and then she says to me with complete sincerity, how do I make it repeat?
You got to pick the arm up and put it back.
I just laughed and walked out of the room. I mean, I'm like, no, so I'm not that, what is it? I'm not that hipster. So it was vinyl records, never again. What was the second one?
Film cameras.
So, no, I did the same thing. It's like, I remember when I was a kid, we didn't have any money, so we had one roll of film every year. There'd be one picture from each birthday and like 10 pictures at Christmas. And that was the roll of film.
Well, the year's almost over at that point.
Yeah, exactly. We just shoot the whole roll on Christmas morning. And most of them didn't work. I mean, I love digital cameras and I love how much better they make photography. So on that one and fancy watches. I am a nerd. I love this Apple Watch. I love all the data I get from it. It actually makes me healthier because I look at the rings. I'm really disturbed the last couple of days because I was on an airplane and I skipped forward 2 hours, so that screwed up my standing
that's
stat
the worst.
for the day. And then, although when I fly back home, I'm going to catch up 2 hours, so that'll be good. And then I didn't get to do my exercise, so my rings are a mess the last couple of days. I love the Apple Watch. I'm not moving off.
No comment.
Oh yeah,
Not
I know.
wearing an
You've got a
Apple
nice watch there. I feel like you're going down the road of Mike Hurley.
It's his fault. This was a Father's Day present. I really love it.
Yeah, I get it. And this watch, my kids will care less about this watch in a few years because there'll be a new and better one. But for me, it's a utility item.
Sure, it's not.
Yeah.
Your Apple Watch Series 4 is not a family heirloom.
No.
The story about your daughter, like, it made me think they're kids now. So I've got, friends who have kids who are, maybe like high school age, which are older than my kids, but, younger than yours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's cool to those kids? Cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about cassette tapes as you do about records. Like, why would you go back to that? But there's like everything comes back around.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
One day we're all going to be using Leopard again, and we can listen to those early MPUs and be set. Just kidding. I use Leopard more than I should.
Yeah, you do.
The dock is so shiny. James, this is James ask a hard-hitting question.
All right. Bring it, James.
How many days a week does David end up in a Disney property?
In a Disney park?
Yeah.
Usually about once every 2 to 3 weeks. But since they opened Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, I've been going more often. It's funny. My wife is working with Disney now, and the bad news about going to work for yourself is you don't get health insurance. But the good news is if you decide you want to work at Disneyland for the day, there's nobody that's going to complain. So every couple of weeks I'll drive in with her, and I know the places that you can sit with an iPad and do work. And as geeky as it sounds, it's just kind of fun to go in. And now that they have the Star Wars thing, of course, I'm like a man-child walking around with a lightsaber. What kind of 51-year-old man walks around with a lightsaber attached to his belt? Me, apparently. But it's fun. I go in at work, then usually my wife and I get to have a meal together when she has her break, and then we drive home together. It's kind of fun.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it's weird. We have this mutual love for this place, and that's something that we've had throughout our marriage. And our kids are old enough. We had passes, and then we take the kids. And now the times we'll on a Saturday night, me and Daisy will be like, "Hey, let's go to Disneyland." The kids are like, "Oh, we'll stay home, watch Spider-Man." And we're like, "Okay, so we'll go without them."
Yeah. That's a very Sparks household situation.
Yeah.
Like any other family here, anyone with kids, like their kids would be like, "Yeah, let's go." Like my kids would be like ready to get on the plane.
Yeah.
Your kid's like, I'm just going to watch Netflix.
Yeah.
Do something else. I'm going to listen to a record instead.
They come with us too, but I mean, it really has been it's been really great for us because our kids grew up there with us, and we do go there and we still have fun. And it's, as your kids get older, anything you can do that they actually enjoy with you is a win.
Mine don't listen to my podcast. Do yours listen to your podcast?
No. They came to the live show, and I think that's the first one my kids had ever heard. And that was the last one. My wife, too, she doesn't listen to anything.
I was very impressed when we were in Chicago in February.
Yeah.
This year, did a live show, and your kids, I learned, they're great. They're awesome. But that was no surprise to me. But they were just like handling like your social media stuff.
Yeah.
They were like taking pictures of us, like setting up, and like the Instagram stories were really good.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to hire them.
Well, the Sparks family comes as a team, Whatever somebody's doing, everybody else has got your back.
It's like coming in like the A-Team van, but there's like an Instagram logo on the side.
And whatever it is, we got each other's back.
It's good. Brad asks, well, he sets up a hypothetical.
Okay.
David is offered a one-liner in any movie, past or present. Which movie would he choose to make his appearance in, and what would the line be?
Actually, that's a real easy one. I'm wearing it on my wrist. I don't have a tattoo, but I have a thing.
We could change it.
I would be the Yoda's line in Empire Strikes Back. Do or do not. There is no try.
It's good. I like it.
All right.
Your Yoda on your desk at home.
Yeah, that's what he tells me every day.
Does he talk?
Yeah, to me.
Does he talk to other people?
Nope.
Did you bring him with you as like he's in the hotel? To make it feel like home?
He's home alone.
That's sad.
Yeah. Sad he is.
All right, we have our final question. You touched on it a second ago. Serena asks, what color lightsaber would David choose?
I think I'd have to go with blue because I'm a big Obi-Wan Kenobi fan. That was his lightsaber.
It's good.
Yeah. See, I've thought about these things.
I know. I know what color I would pick because I like the color,
Yeah.
but I'm afraid it's a Sith color.
Uh-oh, what color is it?
Orange? It's like kind of close to
No,
red.
you know what? I think that's okay. Anything that's not red, I'm okay with.
I mean,
If you had said red, the show's over.
Samuel L. Jackson got a purple one in those movies that shouldn't be named.
I think
so
orange,
anything's possible.
Orange works. I think orange works.
It's kind of cool, kind of edgy.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know, but
Yeah.
it's not Sith. I didn't want to be a Sith. I'm not a Sith.
With
David.
the dog cow in the hilt carved into the.
You just when he goes, move.
No, I was thinking when you turn it on, it would go. Boom.
It's good.
Like the original startup chime.
This has gone places I didn't expect, and I created the outline. Those were my questions for you.
All right.
I would like to say, as the newest member of MPU, to you, the audience, being on the show the last 7 months today, 9 months in September, time is weird.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible honor to be on this show. This is a show, I was looking back through the archives because I needed the date and I knew it was 2009. So I was looking through the archive page on Relay and looking through those old shows. And back then I was working at an Apple authorized service provider, taking apart Macs for money, unlike today where I apparently just do it for fun. And I have like distinct memories of working in the shop with, the couple of techs who worked for me, listening to episodes of MPU. Honestly, like I'm not just saying it because we're on stage together and I want people to cry. Like it's true.
Yeah.
And for so many people here, so many people at home, MPU has been a constant companion for 500 episodes. And so to become a part of that, it's the most humbling thing that's happened to me in my career. And so thank you, David, for having me on. And thank you, audience, for being so welcoming. It's been amazing to come into this family and to feel so welcome. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when Katie was leaving, I had a moment to reflect. I'm like, well, is it time to shut it down? And the answer was immediately no. I don't know how I would get by without making the show. It's my therapy, and, but also the very first person that came to mind was you. And it's just been great having you on the show and making 500 episodes. It doesn't feel like it. When we were talking earlier about the first email show, that literally feels like last week to me, because it's just so fun. And it's like, it's occasionally when our show, the way we make it is a benefit for, folks at home is that because it's not news-based, sometimes we can put a few in the can, like if somebody's going on vacation or something. That's why we're able to get a show out every week. We don't have to take a break because we can just plan around it. When that happens and I have to go a couple of weeks without recording MPU, I get itchy. It's like I can't, it's
You're
like
just talking to Yoda about Keyboard Maestro?
Yeah, exactly. And I just love it. I love making a show. I love, it's like I said at the beginning, it not only did this show change my life, I love hearing how it changed other people's lives too. And it really is special. I mean, all of us just want to make a little difference and help people out. And I've been very fortunate for whatever the stars aligned that made MPU special, that I've been able to help people out. And it's just, what more could you ask for? And we are going to be here. We're going to be celebrating show 1,000, I hope,
I'm in.
So.
Are you all in?
It's like, I don't think Apple's going to change anytime soon. And we're going to, hopefully by show 1,000, I'll stop complaining about the file system in iOS.
If they
But I'm
haven't
not
fixed
guaranteeing it.
by the iOS 23 beta, we can talk about it again.
But I love making the show, and it just feels real special hitting number 500. And I just want to thank everybody here today. You guys have been so warm and welcoming. I know that we're among family here at MacStock, but today, for folks listening, there's a bunch of people here wearing Mac Power Users t-shirts that we've sold over the years. And there's just a bunch of people telling me how the shows helped them out in one way or another. And you guys just made me feel, it's just like, this is a special day for me. And I really appreciate it. And having Steven take the lead in the show, I'm really glad, because I would have been way more schmaltzy if I wasn't restrained. And
the tortilla question wouldn't have made it in.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming out.
Thank y'all.